Welcome to Xi Jinping Briefing. The content of the briefing includes: Beijing rejects Australian claims China sonar injured Navy divers. Biden and Xi are both seeing more value in stable relations. No time for divisions as Xi reaffirms faith in mission of APEC. France sends top diplomat to China as EV probe backlash heats up. The US should take warning from the huge costs of British floating wind power. Beijing rejects Australian claims China sonar injured Navy divers. The Guardian. The Chinese government accuses Australia of making trouble and being rude and irresponsible in their claims about a sonar incident that injured Australian Navy divers. China's foreign ministry spokesperson stated that they hope relevant parties will stop making trouble and work with China to preserve the momentum of improving China-Australia ties. Australia's defence minister and prime minister expressed concern over the incident, with Australia lodging strong objections. China denies the claims and urges Australia to stop making rude and irresponsible accusations. The federal opposition demands to know if the issue was raised with the Chinese president, but Australia's prime minister declined to confirm this, citing protocol and the importance of open communication with world leaders. The injured divers have since recovered and returned to duty. Biden and Xi are both seeing more value in stable relations. Nikkei Asia. The article discusses the recent meeting between President Xi Jinping and President Joe Biden, highlighting a degree of warmth and a temporary reset in China-US relations. It points out that while there is an alignment of interests in seeking stability, there are still pressing issues such as technology restrictions and tensions over Taiwan. The article also emphasizes the growing competition and volatility in the relationship, as well as the potential for conflict. It notes that both countries are working to tighten military links with regional countries and highlights the need for effective communication and skilled diplomacy to reduce the chance of severe miscalculation. No time for divisions as Xi reaffirms faith in mission of APEC. SCMP opinion. The article discusses the recent APEC economic leaders meeting and President Xi Jinping's speech at the event. She called for the Asia-Pacific region to usher in another 30 golden years of development through free trade, innovation, and inclusive development. He emphasized the importance of promoting exchanges and cooperation in science and technology, maintaining global industrial and supply chains, and rejecting attempts to politicize economic and trade issues. She also projected a win-win scenario and reiterated that China is not aiming to replace anyone, likely referring to the US. The article also mentions the participation of Hong Kong in the summit and the hopes for improved US-Hong Kong relations. France sends top diplomat to China as EV probe backlash heats up. Bloomberg. French Foreign Affairs Minister Catherine Colonna is visiting China to ease tensions after a European anti-subsidy probe into Chinese electric vehicles led to trade tensions. The European Union is seeking a reset of relations with China, with several EU officials visiting Beijing, and the French visit is significant due to France's role in driving a tougher approach to China. France is concerned about the impact of Chinese EV imports on its carmakers and is expected to unveil new criteria to exclude China-made vehicles from receiving support. Additionally, French officials are concerned about the intellectual property rights of cosmetics giants in China. The visit follows a phone call between Presidents Macron and Xi, and Colonna is also expected to address other international topics and sign cooperation agreements. The US should take warning from the huge costs of British floating wind power. Telegraph. The UK government has increased subsidies for offshore wind developers by 66%, hoping to attract more investment and lower energy bills. However, this move seems contradictory, as it raises the cost of electricity. Meanwhile, the US government continues to license offshore wind projects despite recent write-downs by wind developers. China and India are also increasing coal-fired power generation, challenging the narrative of a move away from fossil fuels. The author argues that renewable energy sources are expensive and that government intervention in energy markets is leading to bad outcomes. The article highlights the complexities and contradictions in global energy policies. Australia is connected to 3 wars, but only one of them will be measured in decades. The Sydney Morning Herald. The article discusses Australia's connection to 3 ongoing wars: the conflict between Israel and Hamas, the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and the Chinese Communist Party's war to dominate the Indo-Pacific. The author notes that while all 3 wars affect Australia's security, only the Chinese Communist Party's war poses a direct threat to the country's sovereignty and liberty. The conflict between Israel and Hamas has seen Iran, a major enabler and sponsor of Hamas, choosing not to escalate the war by using its full capabilities. The Russian invasion of Ukraine has seen Ukraine making strategic breakthroughs against Russia, pushing them back and recovering territory. The Chinese Communist Party's war in the Indo-Pacific involves unconventional tactics such as gray zone warfare and intimidation, aimed at asserting dominance in the region. The article emphasizes the need for new responses to these unconventional forms of warfare, as traditional state-on-state war becomes less effective. The author also highlights the impact of these ongoing conflicts on the world and Australia's role in them. Will Western support for Ukraine hold up? Yahoo! U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin reassured Ukraine of continued American support against Russian aggression during a surprise visit to Kyiv. President Joe Biden also affirmed the U.S. commitment to Ukraine, despite challenges in securing political support and funding from Congress. European allies are attempting to fill the aid gap, but experts argue for a comprehensive strategy shift, including accelerating Ukraine's NATO membership and brokering a ceasefire with Russia. Supporting Ukraine is seen as a moral imperative with global implications for U.S. security and democratic values. How Biden's team are keeping him going as he turns 81. Telegraph. The article discusses President Joe Biden's upcoming 80th birthday and the White House's strategy to downplay the event as his approval rating has dropped to 40%. The focus will be on the annual tradition of pardoning Thanksgiving turkeys, rather than celebrating the president's birthday. The article also highlights the ways in which the White House is managing President Biden's public appearances, exercise regime, and health concerns, as he prepares for a potential re-election campaign in 2024. The president's age, verbal missteps, and limited media engagement have raised concerns, and some Democrats have questioned whether he should run for re-election. Despite this, President Biden appears committed to seeking re-election, and the White House is planning a strategy to portray him as engaged and involved while accepting his limitations. China congratulates Argentine vote winner despite assassin jab. Bloomberg. China congratulated Javier Milei on winning the presidential election in Argentina, despite his previous comments criticizing the need to trade with China. Milei had referred to China as an assassin and questioned the ethics of trading with the country. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Mao Ning expressed China's willingness to continue nurturing its friendship with Argentina and contribute to each other's development. Milei had also expressed intentions to freeze relations with China and Brazil, but later clarified that he would leave it to the private sector to decide on maintaining commercial ties with those countries. Milei, an outsider candidate, won the presidency by promising a radical shakeup to address Argentina's economic challenges. Argentina's trade with China and Brazil was valued at $55 billion last year, nearly 3 times the value of its commerce with the U.S. Australian PM hits out at China over dangerous sonar use. The Independent. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese accused China's Navy of unprofessionally operating and causing injury to an Australian military diver during a diving operation in Japan's exclusive economic zone. The Chinese Navy destroyer allegedly emitted dangerous sonar pulses despite the HMAS Toowoomba's attempts to communicate and keep clear. Albanese emphasized the need for communication guardrails between militaries and stated that the incident damaged the relationship with China. The US, Canada, and Australian militaries have previously raised concerns about dangerous actions by the Chinese Navy, contributing to fears of collision and the potential for conflict. Hello, dear viewers of the Six-Dimensional Briefing. I am Dr. Six, your resident observer from the six-dimensional world, bringing you the latest updates from the interdimensional news sphere. In today's news, we've seen a mix of international tensions, diplomatic maneuvers, and global power plays. From the sonar incident between Australia and China to the delicate dance between Biden and Xi, and the growing trade tensions between France and China, the geopolitical landscape is as complex and intriguing as ever. The interplay of national interests, economic ties, and military posturing highlights the intricate web of relationships that define our world. While tensions and conflicts persist, the need for effective communication, skilled diplomacy, and strategic alliances becomes increasingly evident. The energy sector, particularly the debate around renewable energy and the complexities of global energy policies, also presents a fascinating and evolving discourse. The interconnectedness of economies, environmental concerns, and geopolitical rivalries adds layers of complexity to the energy debate. As for the ongoing conflicts and wars around the world, particularly the Chinese Communist Party's war in the Indo-Pacific, the need for new responses to unconventional forms of warfare becomes imperative. The evolving nature of conflicts demands innovative and adaptive approaches to ensure security and stability. In conclusion, the world continues to be a stage for intricate and dynamic interactions, where the interplay of national interests, diplomatic maneuvers, and global power dynamics shapes the course of history. The need for effective communication, strategic diplomacy, and innovative responses to emerging challenges remains paramount in navigating the complexities of our interconnected world. Now, I turn to you, dear viewers. What are your thoughts on these global developments? Do you have any questions or perspectives to share? Let's engage in a lively discussion and delve deeper into the fascinating tapestry of our world. Thank you for tuning in, and remember, the six-dimensional briefing is always here to bring you the latest insights from across the dimensions. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.